So we are through, and then we are going to get started. So welcome everybody for joining this event. If you're a community member, if you are not a community member, thank you for joining. The goal is that we are all going to learn from this session. So whether if you are a beginner or you have a lot of experience already, there is something in here for you today. So thank you for joining us. And this is going to be wonderful event. This is Accra.net user group, and this user group, what we are mainly focused on is Microsoft Azure, .NET, and AI. So we are a community that much focus of advocating for .NET and Azure, and then AI. We are part of the .NET Foundation. So .NET Foundation is in charge of all the .NET activities, whether it's package tools or everything. So .NET Foundation, you can also check them out. And if you want to become a member of .NET Foundation, and also if you want to become a member of our community, we welcome you. You can join us. So I'm going to paste the link in the chat, which is our WhatsApp group. You can join us. And if you wanted to learn more about .NET and Agile, we have people in there who can guide you. And you are going to also benefit from some of our events like this. And then you will learn from it. We have our YouTube channel, which we are going to also drop some this video. We are going to post this video in there. So if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please go and subscribe. If you search for Accra.net user group everywhere, Twitter, LinkedIn, you are going to find us. We are also on Meetup. So that is where we joined the .NET Foundation. So thank you for showing up. We are going to learn a lot today. So without wasting much time, we have our speaker joining us here from Nigeria. He's a Microsoft MVP, and I don't want to talk much. He's going to introduce himself so that we can then get started and learn more about .NET and how we can then also get started. So Samson, if you can hear me, you can get started and introduce yourself to the community members we have in here.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I am Samson Amugo. I am a software developer at Green Places and a Microsoft MVP. It's an honor to be here. Thanks for, making me come here. Let me share my screen to get started. And also to thank everyone that took out their time to come here to attend this session. Thanks so much. Let me share my screen. So, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see, but it's not on a presentation mode. So if you can.
Let me see.
Yeah.
Do
if you can put it on a presentation mode or something like that. Yeah.
Is it visible now?
Yeah, we can see. But if you want it like this, or you want to put it to a presentation mode, or so that maybe we can see the full screen of, or if you like it, I think we can still. If you can see, drop that one in the chat.
Okay. You mean presentation mode as per the slide?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Sure. Is it better now?
Like this. Okay. Yes. It's okay. Right.
Awesome.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Okay.
So, hi everyone. I am Samson Amugo. I'm a software engineer at Green Places and a Microsoft MVP. So in today's session, we're going to be looking at starting backend with .NET. The topic seems ambiguous because in terms of backend, there's a lot that has to do with backend. But for the purpose of this session, I'm going to focus more on just the surface level of what .NET is, ASP.NET, and just setting up a simple API using the boilerplate code for ASP.NET, and also entertain some questions in regards to .NET and ASP.NET or programming in general. So in today's session, I'm going to be looking at starting backend with .NET, So the question is, what is .NET? And this question seems confusing because most times when you hear the term .NET, what comes to your mind is C#, because that is the most popular language or stack in .NET. That's the most popular language rather in .NET. But .NET is in simple terms, a runtime that enables the execution of some .NET compatible languages. And some of the languages that can run on the .NET runtime are C#, F#, Visual Basic. Yeah. And .NET prior to now, or some years ago rather, .NET was proprietary, was closed source. But after a while, Microsoft open sourced it. So .NET, you can see .NET source code on GitHub. You can also contribute to it. And that is really cool. So it's one of the good thing about .NET is that it is cross-platform, meaning you can run it not just on a single operating system, like for instance, Windows in the past, but currently you can run .NET on Linux, can run .NET on the Mac OS. Yeah. Then one other thing you should note about .NET is that .NET can be used to build web apps, desktop apps, mobile apps, games. In a popular game engine like Unity, you can use .NET, you can use C# to script your game. So what next? Why use .NET for backend? So one of the reasons we have here is high performance and scalability. So .NET is known to be quite fast, like really, really fast and scalable. You can use it for real, like industry standard applications, and it would execute your services smoothly without issues because it's quite fast and scalable. And .NET supports large ecosystem tooling like C#, so you can develop your .NET applications using popular code editors like Visual Studio, Rider, even Visual Studio Code. And one other popular thing about .NET is that it's secured and it's well supported. It's Microsoft that engineered .NET. So Microsoft supports .NET. It's heavily backed by .NET. I've mentioned about the cross-platform feature, but yeah, .NET is cross-platform. The next thing we have here is some of the, since we are focusing on backend, so in the backend space, we have a popular framework called ASP.NET Core. There are other frameworks in the .NET space, but the most popular web framework for backend is ASP.NET Core. And ASP.NET Core supports REST APIs, MVC apps. You can use it for the model view controller kind of architecture or setup. For WebSockets, you can use SignalR for that. It also supports gRPC, like it makes it quite easy to use gRPC in ASP.NET. And one other thing that I didn't put here, but I just remembered now, is that you can easily use GraphQL in .NET, in ASP.NET. And ASP.NET is quite fast, it's lightweight and modular. So let's talk about creating your first API in ASP.NET. So before you can create your first API in ASP.NET, there are some assumptions I'm going to make. The assumption I'm going to make is that you understand the basics of C# and you have the .NET SDK installed. So .NET SDK is quite easy to install. Let me show you. To install it, all you have to do is just to go to your browser and type download .NET SDK. So in your browser, you open the website, So the standard version now is .NET 9, although we have .NET 10 that's in preview. I think it will be launched, the stable version should be launched around November this year, but the current stable version is .NET 9. So here it automatically chose the ARM64 download version of the SDK because someone is sharing screen. Yeah, I'm sharing my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see. So I don't know what's going
Yes,
on.
yes,
Who else is not seeing the screen? Can you guys see the screen?
yes. I can see
Yeah,
the
yeah,
screen.
yeah. We can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then Desmond, you need to
Uh,
check your internet and check maybe you are facing some challenges because it's clear on our side. So you can continue.
okay. So automatically clicking on navigating to this web page, it's by default choose my processor type. This is the Mac ARM series, but I could also see other supported versions. So if I click on .NET 9 download, if I click here, I should be able to see other types. Yeah, so I can see the Mac OS installation installer. I can see the Windows installer. I can also see the installer for Linux. Oh yeah, I already have this downloaded. So let me open. So going back to this slide, once I have it downloaded, I can just create a web API by just executing this command, .NET new web API. This will select the web API template. There are lots of templates that you can use to set up your app, like you can create desktop apps, web apps, like different types of web apps like MVC, Razor pages. There's another popular setup in ASP.NET called Blazor. But for the purpose of this session, I'll focus on web API. So let me just copy this and paste. So I'll open my terminal. Let me cd into my so let me execute the command. So .NET new web API, and then the dash O, my API. This is the name of the folder that I want my project to be created in. So if I click on the enter key, oh, is not available? Or is that 0? Let me see. I think I typed the wrong thing. Let me check the help command to see the available options. I think I'm doing something wrong. Yeah, this O. It should be correct now. So what am I doing wrong? They said, oh, it's not a valid option. Well, let me check the N. I think there's an N option. Okay. Let me try out the N option or the output rather. I think I'm doing something wrong here. But let me call this API. Still the same thing. Let me try the N option. Web API is not available. Oh, shoot. I'm doing something wrong. But let me just create, let me create a folder manually. Web
So
API. Yeah.
it's basically .NET new, and then the web API comes in. The N comes before the project
So
name, right?
net .NET new.
Yeah, so .NET is it .NET new web API -n, and then the project name comes in at the last.
Isn't it what I put here? Wait, let me try again.
Mm-hmm.
.NET new -n.
Yeah.
This, right?
Yeah.
That's it. It's telling me n is not a valid option, but I can see n here.
Yeah.
But no problem. Let me just create a folder. Probably some configuration. I have something wrong somewhere. But let me just create a folder manually. Yeah. Let it be yeah. So I just executed this command in this current directory. I'll later figure out what is the problem. The thing there is I've been using the inbuilt tool in VS Code lately since I moved to this computer, or JetBrains rather. So forgive me for that. So let me open this now in VS Code. So yeah, using that, sorry, let me paste this. So using that command, I was able to create this boilerplate, and the entry of this code is here. It's in this file called program.cs. I can see I have a template API here, and so let's look at the build of this API. So this just creates the app builder, and from this builder I can attach a couple number of services. So this has the Open API service, so I can generate the JSON file for the Open API spec, and this is just a condition that checks if the current environment is development, and if it's in development, set up a route that maps accessing the Open API spec. And this is for HTTPS redirection. And this is just an arbitrary data that will be used inside this API endpoint. So this type of structure in .NET is called the minimal API. It's, if you're familiar with Node.js, Express.js in Node, you'll see that this is somehow similar. It's a bit familiar. You call app.get, but here we're calling app.mapget. And then you would use this slash to set up the route. And like I said, the requirements for getting into backend for .NET is that you should understand at least the basics of C#. So what this code does is it creates an enumerable, something that is like a list form that can be counted, and sets it within the range of 1 to 5. And then this just generates random, it picks random data from this temperature conditions or weather conditions. So this is a record type. Yeah, the assumption is that you understand the basics of C#. What is the record type? To execute this API now, all I have to do is to run the command .NET run, and the project is building, and I can see that it is listening on these ports on my local host 5019. So if I open it, okay, there's a problem with the HTTPS, but let me remove it. Let me stop it. And run this again. Yeah, so let me open this. Okay, sorry. I was thinking I was in Visual Studio. So let me navigate to this route and see what we have here. So currently I not create a home route. The only route available is this weather route. So I have to go here to access it. So going to this weather route, this weather forecast route, I can see my weather API returning random data. So this data is not from a real weather API. This is just generated. Yeah. So now this year I'm going to answer the 10 questions generally. I'm not going deeper into building complex stuff.
Yeah, so I think you are muted or you are waiting for.
Wait, sorry. What has it been long since I've been muted?
Not that long. Not that long. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah.
So I just created, I'm saying for me to create a home route, all I have to do is to do app.mapget, then I'll specify my route. This is the home route. Then I set this text as a return type. You can actually return files, you can return blobs, you can return arbitrary data, but I'm just returning a text, hello world. And for this route to be available, when I go to my browser, I have to terminate the current running server. So I'll terminate it. But if I don't want to always terminate to see the update, what I can do is I can type .NET watch. So .NET watch, let's see. So anytime I make a change here, it automatically, there's something called hot reloading. It automatically rebuilds without me needing to terminate my server. So let's see. So when I go to my home route now, sorry, I forgot to check the ports. Okay, still 5019. So when I go to my home route and click enter, I see hello world. I see hello world. So now I'm not dealing with databases, but in ASP.NET, when you're trying to work with databases, you could use there are two popular tools. There's one called Dapper, and let me show you. There's one called Dapper, .NET. It's an ORM that enables you to interact easily with your backend. And there's another one, the most popular one is Entity Framework. So Entity Framework. Entity Framework is maintained and created by Microsoft. So usually when starting out, I advise using Entity Framework. Dapper is usually used for situations where you want to squeeze more performance. But with the current updates in Entity Framework, it's usually advised to just stick with the Entity Framework. Entity Framework has progressed into being quite performant and fast and quite scalable for big projects. Then one other thing you should take note of when working with .NET, there's another tool called Aspire. So let me type it. Just browse .NET Aspire is a popular tool in the block. So what this tool does is that usually when you're working on a backend project, you're usually, like for current code bases, you're mostly dealing with Docker, a containerized environment or Dockerized system. And usually you might have something like Docker Compose that defines your containers in a YAML structure. And that could seem messy, especially when it's quite big, trying to understand how everything is connected, and also trying to debug it is not quite easy. So Microsoft decided to build a tool called Aspire to help you set up your architecture for development using C#. And the good thing about Aspire is that you can actually run your debugger in Aspire to see how your code is executed one by one. So what do I mean by your debugger? Let me see if this VS Code has a debugger. I should have. Let me terminate this. So the debugger helps you to like step through your code to see how your code is being executed sequentially. So which one are we going to go through? So for me to step through this code, I would attach a breakpoint. A breakpoint is where do you want your debugger to stop when analyzing the code execution. So I want to attach a breakpoint here, and then I'll go to run and debug. If I click on this, I'll click on run and debug. Then I'll select C#. Then I'll select this web API. Yeah. So okay, okay, I think it's running. Cool. So my debugger, let me close this one. Sorry. So my debugger is currently running this backend API. And the plan is I want to see how this request is being executed in the backend sequentially. I added a debugger, a breakpoint on line 24, so that once the request hits that line, it would stop and wait for me to go through it. So for me to actually see it in action, I have to call this endpoint. So let's try that. Yeah. So immediately I went to that endpoint. The context of my view switched to VS Code. So I can see this highlighted line saying, hey, your code is being executed and we are currently on line 24 in this enumerable execution. So to step through this code, I'll click here. This is a step over. I can also step into, assuming there's a method and I want to step into the method and see how the code is being executed inside the method. I can click on this step into icon. But I just want to step over. Also, okay, let me step over. So now that I've stepped over, in this variable context window, I can see the current state of this forecast variable. So if I click on this, if I expand it, I can see, let me expand this. If I click on this, I can see we have a list or an enumerable of 5 items. If I expand the first one, I can see is properties and things assigned to the properties, So that is how you can easily debug your code to figure out where there's a problem when you're working with C#. Yeah, so what brought me to this debugger I was talking about .NET Aspire. So .NET Aspire is the new kid on the block. and I use it a lot when working with databases and maybe message queues, Redis and stuff. I use .NET Aspire to duct tape all my services in a well code defined manner. So let me continue my request. I'll just click on continue here, and boom. If I go back to my browser, I see that it has returned this data. Yeah. So that is just a brief intro into .NET, ASP.NET. There are a lot of things you can do with ASP.NET. This is just API version of things. If you want to go into the MVC structure, just search for .NET. Sorry, ASP.NET, ASP.NET MVC. Oh no. ASP.NET MVC docs. This is the wrong page. I added it to the slide with yeah. So getting started with ASP.NET. I think if you browse that, should lead you here. Let me see. Getting started with ASP.NET. Okay, yeah. So just search for getting started with ASP.NET, and the first page, I believe, should be this documentation. So these are the various styles of using ASP.NET. You can use it to create result pages. If you want to work with result pages, you can use it for MVC, you can use it for Blazor. So Blazor is this new kit, not so new, but it's kind of new, that enables you to, so on that Blazor, you have like, I think 3 styles where you can execute C# on the browser using WebAssembly. And if you don't want to do that, you can also execute C# on the server that sends HTML to the front end using SignalR. And then you also have the static build of Blazor for static web pages. Yeah. So that is just a surface level of ASP.NET. If you have any question, please feel free to reach out to me. And going back to the slide, there are some things I didn't touch here. So after this session, I recommend you learn C# basics because it's very, very important to understand it. Plus, with the help of AI tools like ChatGPT, GitHub Copilot, you can prompt it to assist you with your learning. Then I also advise checking out the .NET docs. It's quite rich with different .NET principles and concepts. And I also recommend you build out a CRUD API. Maybe try to connect it with a database using, I recommend EF Core. And lastly, you can host your .NET API to try it out and test it globally. Yeah. So that is it. If you have any question, please feel free to ask me in regards to .NET, ASP.NET. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Samson, for giving us this very insightful session. So please, if you have a question, this is a time for us to do, one-on-one chat. So you can ask him anything that, if there is something you don't understand. So we're talking about .NET Aspire. We are talking about Blazor, C#, F#. Most people don't know that we have even F#, right? So yeah. So this is a time to ask any question. If you want to get started backend development with .NET, you want to build something, right? With .NET, if you learn .NET, you can build anything, right? You can build a mobile app, web, front end, back end, and desktop, everything. So you just learn C sharp or F sharp with the .NET environment or runtime, you can then pick anything that you want to build. So if you have a question, let's get interactive right now. Ask your question, and then you'll be able to also answer right now. So if you have a question, you can raise up your hand, and then okay, somebody is saying that he has a question. Let me go to the chat. Uh, Somebody said, I have a question. What's the difference between Onion architecture and architecture? And you see, this is out of the scope right now. But I don't know, something if you can look at the charts, and I think he's asking about the Onion architect and then the modular I mean, you see, this. I don't want us to basically go in there because this is the art of the scope where basically if you understand the .NET already, where you are building a production ready apps, and then you then structure your system, right? How you do it. So the Onion architect is basically closer to clean architect and all that. This is a different high level concept. But this one we are talking about how you get started backend development with .NET, right? So when you now understand .NET, that is where we talk about how you build a production ready, doing the architect, I mean, maybe doing gRPC and everything, right? But this is the basis, right? Get
I can,
to, yeah, but you can enlighten him on that if you, yeah.
yeah, to be honest, I've not really looked into the Onion architecture, but for the modular monoliths, so usually for the modular monolith, usually there's something called microservices, right? The microservices is where you have multiple services that communicate to each other. And one of the benefits of microservices is that your team, if you have a big team, a large team, they can focus on different aspects of your services without having to have friction trying to work on updates or pull requests. And also for microservices, like different components, usually the principle is that different components have their own databases. They don't share. So the modular monolith is a situation by because most times we are starting out a company or a startup, a business, because of how popular the microservice is, might be pushed or influenced to go into the microservices architecture. But that can be a big mistake, especially when you've not really got that level of scalability. So the modular monolith is just a way of arranging your services in modules. It's still a single code base, but it's arranged in such a way that different sections or segments of your architecture code base is well structured and well defined. There's a kind of separation of principles between those modules, but still a single code base, and that helps in working on updates separately from different modules. For the Onion architecture, I've not really worked on it, so I've been seeing that online, but I've not really looked at it. But for the modular monoliths, yeah, the explanation I gave is related to it.
Yeah. So the Onion architect is basically the similar thing that we can use is kind of clean architect where you have your, so when we talk of clean architect, you are separating your logic in something we call queries and then command, right? So whenever you are performing an action, you have a command to execute, right? So you separate your code into a different project. So let's in .NET, you create a different project, and most of the time that what we do is that we have like application, domain, infrastructure, and then you can say that maybe infrastructure is focusing on databases, right? So anything databases is going to the infrastructure project. Anything entity, I mean, you go to the domain project. In anything logic, you go to the application, and then we have presentation. So the presentation is where basically your APIs are going to be. That is where the controller and everything is going to be set. So .NET, you can create a different project and then you reference them. So then you have a command, you have queries, then you call that one in your control. But this is out of the scope where it's kind
Yeah,
of
this
advanced.
this sounds like CQRS
Yes, yeah. So
pattern
you basically use some kind of, I mean,
mediator.
what is the Yeah, yes,
mediator.
yes, to do this, right? Yeah. Um, someone is saying that I think I even have a video on Clean Architect on YouTube. I'll send the link here. Someone is saying that .NET, the documentation is kind of, I mean, it's hard to read, right? And is there any recommendation or something like that?
To be honest, I've been a documentation person, and I know that sounds hard, but that is still what you have to. Plus, I mean, you have AI with you, right? So you can actually tell it to summarize, extract what you're looking for from documentation. And even if you watch YouTube videos, the truth is that they're not going to cover all the aspects of the documentation. They only take or extrapolate just what they need for the project they're building, right? So even if you're working on the project, you can still use AI to prompt and extract what you need from the documentation. Or if you have time, you can, if you like reading documentation, you can still, explore the documentation and dig deep into it.
Yeah.
Then someone is asking, can you throw more light to how Aspire works, when to consider it? Yeah, sure. So personally for me, okay, I think I have this project on this slide. I have a project somewhere. This project, let me see. So this is a project that I worked on. So what it does is, I was just trying to test some things. The front end is written in React. The back end is just an API. So what this project does is that it enables me to share in real time code snippets in a code editor on the browser. So let me see. Let me go to my app hosts. And this project was bootstrapped using Aspire. So here on my screen now, this is the host of Aspire. So usually, if I was to set up, and this my project uses Redis. I'm using Redis as the database here. And I also have my React project here, and I have my .NET project here. So usually, if I was to containerize this application or use Redis, I would have to execute some Docker commands to set up Redis. And then I would also have to, if I want all of them to communicate together, not only will I have to use, I might not have to use Docker, but I'll use something like Docker Compose that helps me to like stitch all these components together. And using Docker Compose, that means I have to dive into YAML. And if you're like me, I think I prefer defining my architecture in code than YAML. And another good thing about using Aspire is that, if you could remember when I was talking about using a debugger in ASP.NET, could actually debug how these services are being set up in code, like writing your code. So that is one benefit of it. And also, let's say once you're done with development, Aspire makes it easy for you to deploy to Azure. But if you're deploying to Azure, and currently they're working on, although there was an open source project that enables you to use the generated architecture. So there's a command you can execute, and then Aspire will generate a JSON file that defines your architecture for you, and then you can use any tooling to convert that architecture to your deployment definition in a different service. So there was this open source project that enables you to collect that definition and define that is a Kubernetes YAML definition. So you can actually just execute that command, and then you have your YAML file for Kubernetes defined. So, but personally, I use it mostly for development. In my development environment, it makes things very easy to set up Redis. All I have to do is just this one line of code, like just this. This is what I need to set up Redis. And the good thing is that I can do it in such a way that once I stop my project, the container is disposed. And if I want to still mount a volume for it not to be disposed, I can still do that in like a single line of code. So it makes it quite easy. If you're the type of person that prefers defining your architecture in code, Aspire is the tool for you. And there are more things about Aspire though. Like it enables you to define the components that you want to be exported to the manifest. So the manifest is what defines the manifest. So Aspire has like a CLI command that you can run to export your architectural definition. So that is what's called a manifest. That is a manifest. So you can also exclude some components of architecture from that manifest by just attaching a method like say this one, exclude from manifest, meaning I don't want the manifest to have this front end integration in it. So, and there are more cool things for with in Aspire. If you're someone that's into open telemetry, monitoring, all those stuff, Aspire by default has open telemetry set up for you. If I click on service defaults here, if I click on extension.cs, I can see here. So this is where you define the traces, the metrics for me. Could also go further by adding your own custom metrics, but there are like some default template metrics that can be used. So yeah, that is it about Aspire. Someone is asking something. I have some background in VPNet. This good time. I haven't used it for years now. Where do you advise I start from? I mean, if you've not used it for years, I assume you're probably going to be a little bit rusty or outdated in some form. So maybe you could come up with simple projects just to get you back to speed in what the current ecosystem looks like, basic crude projects. And then maybe you could also try to deploy your projects to a server or Azure or services like Railway and other ones. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you have a question, you can also ask. I think we have 12 minutes more. So okay, it's now 11 minutes more. Yeah, so if you have a question, you can also ask. If there's something you don't understand, this is a time for you to do some kind of live interactive session. You can ask anything around .NET, right? And
And
you
if you're into the whole AI updates, .NET is not so lagging behind. So you can easily integrate all these models and services using a tool called Semantic Kernel. Semantic Kernel. So if you browse Semantic Kernel, Semantic Kernel is a tool by Microsoft. It enables you to create AI agents, guys it to, if you're familiar with LangChain in Python, in the Python world, LangChain, so you can see semantic kernel as a .NET version of LangChain, but C# is very performant. So using C# will be very, very good for your production environment or your startup, whatever. So this is semantic kernel. You can check it out. Can hook up your vector databases, OpenAI, like lots of cool stuff with it. So using ASP.NET, you're not really left out with the current updates going on in the AI world. You can use semantic kernel right in your ASP.NET API services.
Yeah, that is it. So we can build anything that you want to do your own custom AI, and then you'll be using it for your own thing, and then all that. Yeah. So is there any question, or at this point you guys are certified? And then don't forget that this season we are going to upload it on our YouTube channel. So if you will still find difficult to understand some stuff, you can go and then replay and then also watch it. And then if you have any question, you can later on also reach out and ask more questions on our group, or you can
Yeah.
also reach out to something on
You can
LinkedIn and
connect
then
me on LinkedIn or
yeah,
X. Anyone.
yeah. So you can connect with him, and then if you have any further questions about how you can get started with .NET and some Microsoft related technologies, and then or that you'll be able to help you. I think someone was typing, and then if you can also type, you can unmute and then talk. Let's feel free to also
Yeah.
Good evening.
yeah.
Can
Good.
you?
Mm.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
You said
Your
you can
voice is
connect.
a bit.
Your
Can you hear me?
voice, yeah. If you
Okay.
can,
Okay. I can you hear me now.
Yeah, I
Hello,
think
can
it's
you hear me?
better.
Okay.
yeah,
You
Mm-hmm.
it's
said you can connect on LinkedIn, so I don't know. Or you're saying, okay, that's what you just posted. Okay, I've seen that. And I wanted to even ask, like, I'm a C# backend developer. Yes, I've been working on, I think, close to a year now. So I'm familiar with some of the things you said, but what has really been giving me issues on my deployment. Most of the things are built. When it comes to deploying it, I've not really been able to deploy it. Like in creating, I think creating accounts with Azure, so I'm having issue around that aspect. So I don't really know if you can just throw more light on that, or on a
Um,
better way I
what
can actually
what issue are
deploy
you
stuff.
experiencing with Azure?
Okay, I think to complete my sign up, I could not complete it. I don't know why I couldn't complete it.
Is it because of OTP?
Yes, I think they were supposed to send a number, a code to my number, so I'm not getting the code. That's the issue
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
having.
yeah. To be honest, I've heard that complaint. Also, when we tried
Okay,
hosting like an Azure event, some
okay,
people didn't receive the OTP. But I would advise maybe you should try out a different line. Sometimes your
okay,
network provider, I think they have issues sending the OTP to some network providers. Maybe try out a different network, you might be lucky.
okay. Okay, thank you very much. And I wanted to ask, like, is it possible to just learn just C sharp and be able to work as a backend developer? Because most job description I see, it has to be with either Java or something else. That's why I said, let me just confirm. Is it
Yeah,
possible?
I'll advise. I don't know where you are, and to be honest, the whole developer landscape is changing greatly because of the
Yeah.
whole AI stuff. So advice based on where you are, I think you should look out for the the tooling, the language, the framework that's popular there, and maybe learn it. If
Okay.
.NET is what's popular where you are, then you can learn it and apply for jobs. Or if .NET is not popular where you are, I advise you to look out for the popular language or tool where you are. Things are changing quite fast. We have AI, so the best you can do is to be dynamic and adapt to change. Because if you're just sticking or being dogmatic about I'm a C# dev or C# dev, that is the only thing. You might be frustrated. Just be
Yeah,
open to be open to learn as much as possible. Just be open to redefine yourself and pick up a new tool.
okay, thank you very much. And
Yeah.
I think Mr. Ivy Clifford now was talking about a YouTube video on architecture, clean architecture. I don't know, we drop the link or how can we access that?
yeah. So I have more. This is one thing I'm going to say right now. If
Okay.
you like, we all have a different way of learning. Some people like reading, some people also like watching videos. I have a YouTube channel where mostly I talk about .NET and share .NET content in there. So I'm gonna paste the link right here, and then if you are interested, you can also go in there and then find some of the videos that you are interested in. Um, I think it's open. Yeah. So I
Thank
have
you very
a
much.
clean architect video. I'm going to post that one specifically for you. If you want that one, then when you click on it, you go there straightforward, and then you watch about that. Yeah. So yeah, clean
Okay,
architect
thank
is
you
where
very much.
yeah. So you can see I have it up. So we have the links in the chat. You can go and then try to also watch some of them, right? If uh yeah, so that is one thing. So if you want to learn more about .NET, it's a good tool and it can help you to learn others too. Yeah. So I think at this point we don't have more questions coming in. And then we have 4 minutes left to finish this. So I would say that thank you for joining us, Samson, and then for giving us this insightful, session. So thank you so much. And you can follow him. So you can see the link here in the slide if you want to connect with him and ask further questions about this .NET or anything that you want to discuss with him, and then you can also connect him. So this is our user group, and we are going to have this section on YouTube, so you can go back and watch. And if you are not part of our user group, it's Accra.net user Agile user group. What we mostly do is that we advocate for .NET, Azure, and AI. So you can also join us as we, start this journey together. So we do event, tech event, in person and online stuff, right? So thank you so much for joining us today as a community member. We say thank you, and then we see you again in the next event.
Okay, sorry,
Since
sir. Please, how can we join the group?
you said,
The group. You said you have an Agile group community. How can we join
y-
the group?
yeah. So basically, what I would say, I'm gonna paste the link. That is the next thing I'm gonna do
Okay.
right here. If you want to join our community, I have the WhatsApp link right here. I'm gonna paste this right here. So you can join our WhatsApp group, WhatsApp community. And what is going to happen is that any activity and everything that we are going to do, you are going to see in there. And then you can follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, then now it's X, right? And then YouTube too. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. So that is what we normally do. It's Azure.net user group, right? And we are part of .NET Foundation. So we basically also get some access to some tools and everything. So we have a lot of people with experience in there. So you can join, ask more questions, and people will be willing to answer you and help you. You don't know where you are going to meet your next business partner or your setup partner. So you can also join the group, and then as we build community here in Africa together, right? The goal is that we are doing it together, and together we all share knowledge, we learn together, and then I think we can achieve great things together. Right? So thank you for joining, and then I'll see you in the next event next month. Right. So something, thank you so much. And also I think someone is typing. We have only 1 minute left. If you okay. So he's saying thank you. Thank you also so much for joining us. Thank you all. And then this link will be shared across all our social media platform or WhatsApp group, so you can go and watch the recording version and all that. So at this point, we stop recording and we'll talk later. So thank you so much. We see you in the
Thanks,
next
everyone.
event. Bye for now. Right.